could not log into my account. So then I called the bank to find out what was going on. And the bank told me to enter my 16-digit card number. I did that. They told me they had no record of my account. They had no record of my account. The bank that I've been with since I was a teenager told me they had no record of my account. So then I called the bank. And the bank told me that my personal account.
How do you raise nearly $1 million for a school project and still end up with nothing to show? Dr. Umar Johnson, once praised as a strong advocate for Black boys and often called the Prince of Pan-Africanism, is now on Instagram asking for donations in ways many consider desperate. Picture this. He's not at a school site, not in an office, not even in a classroom. Instead, he's sitting in a rental car overseas requesting money through PayPal. He claims his accounts were hacked, blames an ex-partner, points at a jealous pastor, and even says the system itself is against him. But this time, online audiences aren't buying it. With receipts spreading, critics resurfacing, and memes going viral, Umar may have lost more than his account access. He may have lost the trust of the people who once supported him. So, how did it get here? It started with one shaky video clip.
As well as the independent Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy account have both been frozen. Both bank accounts have been frozen. So brothers and sisters, if you want to make a donation to FDMG, you must send it to PayPal. Hold off on the checks and money orders until the situation is resolved. Hold off on all FDMG Academy money order and check donations until the situation is resolved. If you want to make a donation to FDMG, send it through PayPal.
In that clip, Umar is parked in a car in Africa, looking exhausted and unsettled, asking the public for help. He said not only were his personal funds gone, but donations for the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy were also frozen. And instead of quietly working through lawyers or banks, Umar did what he often does. He went live. The broadcast felt less like an update and more like a fundraiser. He repeated his links: Cash App, PayPal, support the mission, over and over. It came across as part emergency, part collection drive, raising more doubts than answers. How could someone who raised nearly $750,000 end up stranded with no food, no hotel, and no plan? Why would a man who calls himself the leader of Pan-African education need strangers to cover basic expenses? And most importantly, was this a real crisis, or just another extension of Umar's ongoing appeals for money? The story gained momentum when he explained who he believed was behind the financial mess. Umar claimed the trouble began when he tried to log into his accounts in South Africa. Instead of seeing his balance, he was locked out. He said the bank acted as though his accounts didn't exist, with staff insisting they had no record of him. According to Umar, both his personal and academy accounts were suddenly under review. Not because of anything he did, but because of sabotage. He named two people: a former partner who had once been close to him but was now an enemy, and a pastor called Busi, whom he accused of working with her. He said they tried to seize control of his finances while he was abroad, repeating that bank fraud is a federal crime. But there was one major issue: he gave no proof. No police reports, no screenshots, no official paperwork. Just accusations, suspicion, and more donation requests. That's when public opinion turned against him, especially because the ex-partner he blamed wasn't just a random critic. She had been romantically involved with him. Once her name was mentioned, she quickly appeared on Tasha K's platform and fired back with her own accusations. Her claims were sharp. She painted Umar not as a leader, but as someone misusing funds and misleading his supporters. She said he was a hoarder, often filming from hotel rooms because his real home was in poor condition, and even claimed he didn't legally own the school building he promoted.
Dr. Umar needs a 9 to 5. He need a white bitch, nigga. Everybody know that white bitch go get it and come back with it, nigga. You know how to put some pimping and some macking down. That's why I say white is right, nigga. And I'm talking about Charleston White. That's why I tell him all that preaching about don't sleep with a white woman. Do you think a white woman will have her king that's a psychologist with a doctor in front of his name out begging before the world?
She went public directly, calling Umar Johnson a broke wannabe celebrity who relied on women for money and attention. And people online listened. She also said she wasn't the only one, that other women had been harmed by Umar, both financially and emotionally, with some even pressured to stay silent. But now, those stories were surfacing, fueling heated online debates. Old clips reappeared. Broken promises were replayed, memes spread daily. and receipts circulated faster than Umar could block accounts. If Mada's claims hold weight, the bigger question is simple. What happened to all the money Umar raised? At the center of his story is one figure, $750,000. By 2014, just 2 years after starting his Pan-African Academy campaign, Umar said he had collected that amount. The school was supposed to inspire and uplift the next generation. Yet in 2025, the project still sits unfinished. Umar maintains some of the funds went toward buying 2 campuses, 4 buildings total, for just over $400,000. On paper, that sounds like progress. But visiting the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy shows another picture. Boarded windows, electrical problems, power issues, no certificate of occupancy, and even reports of unpaid Wi-Fi bills. After a decade and hundreds of thousands spent, the school doors remain shut. Even longtime supporters are now questioning him openly. Why is he still asking for donations in 2025 for something promised back in 2013? Where's the transparency? Where are the receipts? Where's the budget breakdown? To make matters worse, records suggest he began asking for donations as early as 2010, not 2014 as he often claims. He even once promised the school would open on September 11, 2013, a date that came and went like many others. And the criticism isn't only from outsiders. This time, it's coming from within the community. Enter Charleston White, activist, provocateur, and a master of viral commentary. In a widely shared video, Charleston tore into Umar's credibility. "I've been serving my community for over 12 years, he said. "I never asked for handouts. I hustled. Sold barbecue, fake pills, whatever I had. But I never begged my people." Then he cut deeper. "Umar is weak for women. I'm a player, he's a sucker." That moment shifted the conversation. It wasn't just about money anymore. It was about character. Beyond the speeches and fundraising, people began asking, who is Umar really? Critics weren't only questioning financial integrity, they were challenging his credibility and reputation. Other influencers piled on, resurfacing interviews, timelines, and receipts that all pointed to the same pattern. And that pattern was hard to ignore. Whenever controversy appeared, Umar cast himself as a victim, blamed supposed enemies, and circled back to the same message: donate to support the mission. The cycle kept repeating. What never appeared was a clear financial report. To be fair, Umar has defended himself. He says both his personal and school accounts were frozen, leaving him stranded in Africa without access to money. If true, that's undeniably tough. But questions remain. Umar is 50 years old and says he's a certified school psychologist with decades of experience. So where's the retirement plan? The pension? The savings or emergency fund? And if the crisis was that serious, why not use his own resources instead of constantly turning to strangers on social media for help?
Ain't nobody thing. How PayPal freeze your account? I thought a nigga supposed to have a credit union, a bank, Cash App, Zelle. How the PayPal? You trust the white man, that mother doctor, talking that nigga talk. Don't you tell me the good doctor. You trust white folks' system this much as a Pan-African, you put all your eggs in the digital basket with nothing. I call bullshit. I think he a fraud. I was just starting to like it. I was just starting to like that nigga. I'm calling bullshit. You will never ever. That's why I made it my business. When I started my 501c3, I was not going to be a beggar because I had a Jewish attorney who teach me, Charleston, you have to find a way to self-sustain your organization for your...
And what about credit cards, credit lines, personal loans, or even help from friends and family? None of that came up. He never mentioned paying people back once his accounts were active again. There was no suggestion this was a short-term loan, no promise of repayment after the freeze ended, just repeated requests for donations. That isn't how a professional manages a crisis. That's how panic is turned into profit. Here's the real warning sign. If Umar truly has assets, then he should also have options. Instead of showing proof or drawing on reserves, he went straight to Apple Pay, PayPal, and emotional appeals. That's not financial planning. It looks like desperation. And let's be clear, if he really is the licensed school psychologist he says he is, shouldn't there be savings, investments, or at least some backup resources? The claim that a single frozen account shut down his entire life doesn't seem logical. That's what many people find difficult to accept. Which brings up the bigger question. Was the school ever going to open? Or was it always just an ongoing fundraising effort? Was there ever real money in those accounts to begin with? And if not, why have donations been collected for over a decade without a functioning school, staff, or even one open classroom? The story of the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy has now stretched on for almost 15 years. And what do we see today? An empty building, a fading sign, and endless excuses. Back in 2010, Umar announced plans to open a private Pan-African school for Black boys, focused on learning disabilities and behavioral challenges. He even set a date, September 11th, 2013. That day passed, as did every new opening date he later promised. Year after year, fundraiser after fundraiser, he claimed the school was close to launch. By 2014, he said $750,000 had been raised. By 2019, he claimed to have secured 2 buildings. Yet when journalists or supporters asked for updates, permits, photos, or a simple budget, there was no transparency. Instead, many were blocked, ignored, or dismissed as haters. Today, those buildings still look abandoned. No working power, no accreditation, no certificate of occupancy. Umar himself admitted the Wi-Fi might be shut off. But how does Wi-Fi matter in a school with no electricity? The closer people look, the worse it appears. Questionable property records, missing permits, and no visible progress make the project seem less like a school and more like a collection of broken promises. And that's the real concern. This isn't about dismissing the vision. It's about accountability. How can donation requests continue without proof that even one classroom is close to being ready? What exactly are people funding in 2025? Hope? Promotion? Or just a hustle? When Umar tried defending himself online, the internet reacted the way it always does, with humor. His donation appeals became meme material. Someone even signed him up for Meals on Wheels as a prank and posted the receipt. Others gave him nicknames like the Prince of Panhandling and the Scam African King. One person mocked his famous greeting with, "Peace and scam Africanism, brothers and sisters." Another joked the ancestors must have hacked his bank account. TikTok users recreated his donation requests, Twitter threads resurfaced old promises, and even his Cash App links became jokes. And it wasn't just funny, it was damaging. The mockery cut deeper than criticism because it exposed a larger truth. People no longer took him seriously. The aura of leadership faded. The revolutionary image cracked. What emerged was the picture of a man who looked less like a leader and more like a cautionary tale. But beyond the memes, one harsh truth stands out. People only laugh at what they've stopped believing in. What started as a mission for Black liberation has been reduced to PayPal punchlines and frozen account jokes. Umar Johnson didn't just promise a school, he promised a revolution, a safe space for Black boys, built outside the system and supported by the community. That was his vision. And for a while, people believed it. But now, after nearly 15 years, countless fundraisers, millions of views, and an estimated $750,000 raised, what's the reality? No school, just broken promises and constant requests for donations. Umar says his accounts were hacked. He claims he's being targeted. He insists investigations will eventually prove him right. He makes many claims, but critics say the numbers don't add up. They argue the building is just a prop. They believe the project was never about education. It was about creating a personal brand. Whether Umar was scammed, sabotaged, or simply unprepared for such a big plan, one fact is undeniable: trust is gone. Because at some point, the issue stops being about enemies or excuses and comes down to one simple question. If the school never opens, what exactly did people fund? A dream, a cause, or just a carefully built illusion? So, what do you think? Was Dr. Umar's downfall the result of sabotage, or was it the collapse of a long-running hustle finally coming to an end? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Verseville for more detailed investigations.